What is up? Happy Friday. Welcome on into Let's Bet It. Lauren Jabari here with Jared Smith. Jared, it is Friday Fun Day. Are we having fun yet or what?
Oh, we're having fun. There's college football on tomorrow. There's all
I'm
kinds of
so
football
excited.
things dripping down the chimney tree, right? It's like when we're waiting for Santa on Christmas Eve. We're waiting
Seriously.
for the Saturday vibes of college football. They are right here. We're on the eve. We're on the cusp. So exciting.
We are on the cusp. We are on the eve. Christmas is right around the corner, as we like to call it, or NFL season and college
Sure.
football week 0. We cannot even wait. But we have a lot to talk about today. First of all, our Better Up segment. We're getting into the final stretch of the Major League Baseball season. So that's pretty exciting. Yesterday, we broke down the NFC West player props or player division totals, win totals, etc. Today we have the props. We're bringing on Bobby Stanley, the prop expert for Pickswise. And then we have some NFL bets too, Jared, because I know you already locked in a unit and a half week 1 bet for the NFL
I already
season.
have it.
So without
It's
further
in,
ado,
baby.
my friend, let's get right into it and let's bet it. Let's start it out with, is the trend your friend? First of all, Orioles versus Astros. The Orioles are 10-0 in their last 10 against the AL West. How do you feel about this one?
Whoa. 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 The AL West is pretty decent too. You got the Mariners in there. So Kyle Bradish,
Yes, you
Lance
do.
McCullers today. Tough, tough pitching matchup really to handicap because McCullers is only making his 3rd start of the year, and he has very limited exposure against this Orioles lineup. Bradish is a rookie, so he's basically never faced anyone. I think he has 3 at-bats against Christian Vasquez, who was just traded from Boston to Houston, so that makes sense why Bradish has faced him. I was going to bet Bradish's walks prop under, but it moved dramatically to the under, and it made it a no bet for me. I really, so obviously the Orioles are a huge underdog here. I would take a nibble with the O's here. I would. I think that's what the trend is saying, and I think the Bradish, he's been okay in spots this year, and not a lot of exposure against Houston. So yeah, maybe a light like an acquaintance, but I think the number makes
Okay.
sense.
I'll take an acquaintance.
Yeah,
We don't
better than
necessarily
nothing.
need a best friend, but at least it's someone to sit
No,
with at the lunch table. What about the Blue
there you
Jays,
go.
Angels, Nerfy, no runs first inning. Angels 10-0 to the Nerfy in their last 10 against
Wow.
the AL East.
Oh wow. Uh, Reed Detmer's Mitch White today. So Detmer's numbers. This is popping Yurfie on my sheet.
Mm.
Because Mitch White's numbers have been really bad, especially at home this year. But he hasn't pitched much in Toronto at all because he just got traded. His expected FIP's above his actual FIP. Detmers, we'll get to him in a minute in the walk this way. Parlay, he's a bit of a gas can too. I think this is an unfriend here. Unfortunately, I think
Negative
the Blue
friends.
Jays. Yeah, I think the Blue Jays lineup against Detmer scares me. That scares
Okay.
me in the first inning.
We have an acquaintance and we have a no friend. What about this one? Braves, Cardinals. Braves 9-0 in their last 9 road games. How do you feel about it? And they're favored again
So
today.
this was a popular chat pre-show when I made the exclamation without even knowing that this was in the trends. I was like, that Braves line looks weird tonight. The Cardinals have been on fire, and Quintana's been pitching really well, but they're a home dog tonight against Spencer Strider and those singing Braves. Those Braves are hot, and obviously this trend is even hotter. So the line is begging me to bet the Cardinals, which tells me that you should probably stay away or bet the Braves. So yeah, I will friend this one. Even though I think
We're
this is a
having a
really tough
friend.
spot for our boy Spencer Strider tonight. We're gonna find out just how good Spencer Strider is tonight. If he can go into
He's
St.
that good,
Louis, the
Jared.
Lions den, he is really good. I think he's fantastic. But we're going to find out just how good he is tonight against this Cardinals team on the road in a playoff kind of atmosphere. But yeah, you gotta go with this trend, right?
Last but not least, the Battle of Philadelphia. The Phillies taking on the Pirates. The Nerfy. Phillies 7-0 to the Nerfy in their last 7 against the NL Central.
The Keystone battle, the Keystone State rivalry here. So this Nerfy also is just not showing up very nicely on my sheet today. Bryce Wilson's he's terrible. He's under 500 Nerfy record this year. His FIP is over 5. His batting average against in the first inning is over 350. Bailey Falter, a flat 4-4 Nerfy record this year. His expected FIP is higher than his actual FIP. So there is nothing on this game popping Nerfy. So
Yeah.
I feel like Friday,
You can unfriend
not
her.
a lot of
That's okay.
Friday friends here. So I'm unfriending this
We
one
have a
too,
friend, an acquaintance, and two in the doghouse. So we'll come
Two in
back
the
stronger
doghouse.
tomorrow,
Okay.
Jared, I promise you.
There you go.
But the Yerfees, yes run first inning, went 5-4 yesterday. First positive day since August 21st. And the Pickswise editors he put in here are 58-36 with Yerfie Nerfy bets this season. Mark Lammy has a couple of picks today. Jared, do you want to talk about them or go through them at least?
I'll mention them briefly. So one of them, Arizona, Chicago, is not giving me a lot of friend vibes on my sheet either. I'm staying away from that one, but I certainly understand why you would want to bet a Yerfie with the White Sox anytime they're facing a lefty, which Tommy Henry is. The other one, Seattle, Cleveland, I am tailing. I am betting this one. Late night, Logan Gilbert, Shane Bieber, two tremendous pitchers. It's showing up heavy Nerfy on my sheet, over 83.5% implied rate between these two guys since 2019. So I'm betting one of these tonight, Cleveland, Seattle. I'm passing on the other one, Arizona, Chicago, Yerfie. But I can't argue anyone who wants to bet a Yerfie with the White Sox again when they're facing a lefty. So again, one friend for me here. I'm friending the Cleveland, Seattle Nerfy, passing on the Arizona, Chicago Yerfie. But again, our guys have been phenomenal at betting these this season. So definitely worth a look.
Let's get into our bets heading into today. I have 3 strikeout props. One of them was actually taken off the board, but not because of the pitcher that I have. It's because the other team, the Marlins, the team that I am fading, still has a TBD in terms of who's going to be on the bump for them tonight. But the guy on the other side, Tyler Anderson for the Dodgers, his strikeout prop was set at 5 on FanDuel. I really like this number. So today, a lot of my strikeout props are about not necessarily how good the pitcher is, but fading these teams that suck when it comes to strikeout bets. Okay, so you look at a team like the Marlins, going up against another lefty pitcher. They have been horrible, the Marlins have, against lefties this season. A 4.2% strikeout rate, which ranks dead last in baseball. You look at a guy like Cole Irvin, mowed them down 11 times 2 days ago. Anderson also punched out 6 Marlins last time he faced them, which was in his last start. This is a really good spot for him. He's not a massive strikeout guy, but I can see him going over the total here. It was taken off of the sports books, but it will be put back on when the lines are obviously all adjusted, depending on who's going to be on the bump for the Marlins. So make sure to keep Tyler Anderson in your mind and get that number over 5 when they put it back on the board. I have one other strikeout prop that's going to be my best bet of the day, but my final one, Freddie Peralta, over 6.5 strikeouts, only laying 16 cents for it. The Brewers going up against the Cubs. He has a 4.08 ERA in the season with a 26.9% strikeout rate, which is really good for him. He's been averaging about 1.1 strikeouts per inning, which means, you know, math, he has to go about 5.5 innings, which is extremely likely for him to do. The Cubs have a 23.2% strikeout rate at this point and an 11.7% swinging rate. They've been a lot better, though, at making contact with the ball because the last couple of games, they've been doing really, really good. Only a 4.33 strikeout average over their last 3 games. But Peralta's a decent strikeout pitcher. And if you look at the Cubs season totals, they've been averaging about 8.78 strikeouts per game this season. So 6.5, yeah, it's decently high number, but I'm not laying too much juice for it at only 16 cents. So why not try it out? Freddie Peralta over 6.5 strikeouts, minus 116. I have one more. It is my best bet of the day. So I'm going to save it for the end of the show as we walk this way into your parade.
Oh, you want to do that one more time? Because I don't know if you're going to do that again for the rest of baseball season. Just to give the viewers one last listen to your beautiful
sad
pipes.
Moment. Walk this way into your parade.
Wow. That's impressive.
Hit me with it.
Thank you. So we've reached that point of no return where there's only so much time in the day and football season is here. And I think, again, there might be exceptions to this. I'm not completely burying the walks props for the rest of the season. But there has to be a give and a take. If you guys want more football content, football picks, I need to scale back the allocation of how I spend my time. And
Yeah.
from what I'm gleaning, the Nerfy sheet is still something I really want to do every day. So I'm probably going to decrease the output of walks props in the month of September, and going forward, especially on football weekends, Saturdays and Sundays, because I want to make sure we get full attention on football season. And I don't want to be giving out half-ass picks. And if I don't have the time to really do the research, I'm not going to recommend betting and risking your hard-earned capital on some of these picks. But that being said, today's a normal day, except for the fact that Kyle Bradish's number got completely eviscerated before the show. We had 2.5 on him. It moved to 1.5. I don't feel comfortable playing it there. So we made a 3-team parlay, a 2-team parlay, and I'll start with Chris Bubich over 1.5 against the Padres. 70% hit rate on the year for Bubich. Over the last 2 seasons. 35 of his 50 starts over that span, 2021, 2022, have gone over 1.5. That equates to minus 233 odds. We're only laying 90 cents for this bet. Nice little 43-cent gap there. And he's walking almost a full batter more per 9 at home, which is surprising. Almost 5 batters per 9 walking at home than he is on the road, which is around 4. And this game, of course, at Kauffman Stadium tonight against the Padres. San Diego, above average walk rate against lefties this season, 9.3% overall and 9.1% over the last 30 days. Nice little flat number there. No regression in either direction. So Bubich over 1.5, minus 190. Reed Detmers over 1.5. We talked about Detmers during the Trend is Your Friend segment at Toronto tonight. 71% hit rate on the season for Detmers. Or over the last 2 seasons, although most of those starts have come this year. Only had 5 starts last year, 19 starts this year. That equals 24 starts. 17 of them have gone over 1.5. That's the equivalent of minus 243 odds. We're only laying 60 cents for this bet. 83-cent gap there with the value. And he's walked at least one batter in every game this season. So he's been right there every single game. 17 of them obviously over 1.5, but the other 7 that he stayed under 1.5, he was right there at 1. So I'm sure there were multiple opportunities for him to go over in those games. And this Blue Jays lineup, which was kind of a free swinging lineup earlier in the year, well, they're trending in a very positive direction with their walk rate against lefties. 8.5% overall for the full season, but over the last 30 days, that number jumps to 10%. So I think the Blue Jays are starting to, feel their sea legs a little bit. After being a very aggressive lineup earlier in the year. So I'm not going to bet these individually. I'm just going to put one shiny unit on this parlay, which is plus 148. Let's be honest. If you bet them individually anyways, you need to go 2-0 in order to make money because they're both 60, 70, 80, 90 cents juice. So I don't think it makes sense to bet them individually. I would just put a little bit more in the parlay, risk one unit, to make 1.48 units. And there you go. This could very well be the last walk this way parlay of baseball season. Not definite yet.
Don't do us dirty
likely.
like that, Jared. Come on now.
Don't
do
Lauren,
us dirty
but
like
there's
that.
only so much time in the day. What would you rather me do? Would you rather me handicap walk props every day, all day till I'm blue in the face, or dive into football? Yeah,
we got to dive into football, but maybe we do one walk this way parlay a week or something. Give it
all right, that's fair.
There's days for it.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Why not? That wasn't the last time
That's
I'm going to do it. I'm just going to let everyone know Jared's going to come up with another walk this way parlay. And it's probably going to be tomorrow, just knowing Jared. Anyways, let's get into the NFL because we have week 1 right around the corner. We have our final weekend of preseason. It's so exciting. Things are happening. Everything's going on. I'm so excited.
Let's do it.
So let's bring in Bobby Stanley because yesterday, obviously, we chatted NFC West win totals. Today, we are getting into NFC West player props with Bobby Stanley. Let's bring him on in. Bobby, how are you? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, guys. Thank you for having me to talk NFC West. I was honored you brought me back for this, given my fandom.
You love it. Right? I'm so excited to hear what you have heading into this season. We're going to start this segment with our red hot chili proppers. I give you a prop and you tell me if you like the over or under and a 15 to 30 second reasoning why. So we're going to start it out in San Francisco with our boy Trey Lance. Over under 3,500 and a hook passing yards. Bobby Stanley, how you feeling about that one?
I'm leaning over. He only had 2 starts last year. He went for 192 yards and 249, so it averages about to 220 per game. And I think that's where he lands for the season, which would put him around 3,900 yards. The reason I say over is really more the wide receiver core. So Debo Samuel, second in the league in yak last year with 778
Yeah.
yards. The Niners as a team, eighth overall in yards after catch with 2,264. This number's just too low given how good those weapons are for him. And I don't think they're going to expect him to be throwing 30, 35 times a game. But with this wide receiver core, he doesn't really need to.
Jared, do you agree?
Yeah, I think Kittle and Debo and, Ayuk, I mean, the weapons are there. And we're very high on this Niners team overall. I've heard a lot of buzz on Trey Lance for MVP. I'm not ready to go there just yet. But I am ready to pass the crown to him and say, go ahead, dude, go ahead and take it and run with it. This is a low number. And if he stays healthy and if hopefully he doesn't play like he played last night, but if he plays better than he played last night, he should go over this number with relative ease just because of volume.
Yeah, and you mentioned Debo Samuel, Bobby. I want to talk about this because you look at his rushing and receiving yards prop over under 1250.5 for Debo. How do we feel about that one?
Same thing. It's not going to be a trend throughout the entire show, but I go over on this one. Again, the 778 yards after catch alone. And I think he's going to be the safety net for Trey Lance. But he had 1,400 just receiving yards last season. And then as the postseason went on, they really started opening up that running back role. Now, I know that's what held up his contract this offseason. He didn't want to be a running back. But based on a couple press conferences I watched from Kyle Shanahan the other day, he doesn't seem like he's shying away from that. The comments he made was, we're going to use him on what gives us the best chance to win. So, 300, 400, 500 rushing yards maybe over the course of the season for him, especially with Trey Lance, who needs that help. 1250 is a little bit low for me.
Yeah, Jared, are you in agreement of that too?
So this number's higher, whereas Trey Lance's number for a quarterback in an offense that's really good is low at 3,500 passing yards. For a guy that you're right, there was some contract issues with his rushing. This is high for that because he needs to be the same, if not, I would say a little bit more. Because I think I think we're going to get a little regression with the yak. The yak was unbelievable last year. I think teams are on to that now, and they're going to play him a little differently. I'm not going to say it's going to completely go away, but I think a lot of that, I mean, he led the NFL in yak last year. I don't know if that's going to be the case this year. So I think we're going to get a little regression with his receiving yards, which means is his rushing going to stay in the 200-300 yard range? I don't know how many carries he's going to get. So I'm not willing to bet a season-long prop with him that involves rushing because of the uncertainty involved. So while I'm not running the window to bet under here, I don't feel very good about betting an over in this spot just because of how elevated the number is based off of where the averages might be.
When in doubt on any of these season totals, always go under. Just because that's where the propensity
absolutely
to be. Yeah.
75% on average go under. So absolutely, 100% agree.
Yeah. Then since you already said over on Trey Lance, and just by statistically speaking, Cam Akers over under 895.5 rushing yards. We're going under on this one, or do we feel good about the over here?
So I'm going to touch on Cam Akers a little bit more. He's the jersey that's behind me. You can't really see. I am a Rams fan. I sympathize with a fellow Achilles tendon sufferer, but I lean under on this one. I do think it's going to be a running back by committee for the Rams. He did come back extremely soon last season, but he only averaged 2.57 yards per carry in the postseason. He will be significantly healthier, but Darrell Henderson will be stealing carries. The Rams use very high draft capital for them on Kyren Williams, running back from Notre Dame. I do think he's more valuable to the Rams in January than he is in October, and they're going to manage his workload appropriately. So 895.5. He hasn't done it yet, but I'm leaning under on this one.
This is a stone.
Under.
This guy has been injured his whole career. Like, you have to be incredibly brave to ignore the elephant in the room with Cam Akers' injury concerns. Fumbling, injuries, all of those things. And again, that doesn't mean he's not going to have a good season. He's not going to have games that are going to wow you because he's an incredibly talented running back. But again, we're talking about a season-long investment on a guy that has not done it yet in his career. Very, very hard to pull the trigger on that bet. To me, this is a stone cold under or complete pass in general.
Stone cold under. But what about maybe a stone cold over for Marquise Brown? Over under 875.5 receiving yards? Or is this also a stone cold under, Bobby Stanley?
I went under on this one, and I felt more confident about this one than I did Cam Akers. He's too inconsistent week to week. It's system, newer offense. Now, I know Hopkins is going to be out the first 6 weeks, I think it is. But Rondale Moore, I think, makes a big jump. Zach Ertz, I think, is going to lead the way in targets over the course of the season. And then when Hopkins come back, it's going to shake up the playbook a little bit. I'm sure he's going to have a couple weeks where we see 100 yards, a couple splash plays, but he's really been brought in to keep the defense honest and to be that deep threat. He went under 60 yards receiving in 10 of 16 games last season. And I understand they have the college rapport with him and Kyler Murray. He's had 3 career games against the NFC West, which is going to be the bulk of his games, this season. Those 3 games, he had 9 receptions for 71 yards. So I'm not overly optimistic on Marquise Brown, he's been up and down his entire career. So I'm leaning under on this.
Okay, so honestly, after going through these 4 props, you're over on it?
Hold on,
Let me hear it out,
Jared.
Tell me the other way.
I was going to say, let me at least try to convince you. So of the 4 on this sheet, the only one that I actually would be willing to bet over is Marquise Brown. And again, it's because of the Hopkins thing. So first of all, there is a massive, I know it's a new system with Cliff Kingsbury, but I mean, you're talking about Kyler Murray and Marquise Brown. Go watch the interview with Dana Holgorsen after their game against West Virginia from a few years ago, when Dana was like, I don't know what the hell, these kids are unbelievable together. So there is a really big rapport with these 2 guys, and he's going to be the number 1 receiver for the first 6 weeks of the season. And he was a 1,000-yard guy last year with the Ravens, with Lamar Jackson. And you're telling me Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, I take Kyler Murray in terms of his passing prowess between those 2 guys. So I feel like this is a low number for a guy who's going to be a number 1 receiver in a high-flying offense for half the season. And even when Hopkins comes back, you would imagine Brown is still going to be a big part of it. So, again, the number means everything here. 875 for a guy of Brown's talent level, it's pretty low, frankly. So I think anything under 1,000 yards is a play on the over here, frankly.
Yeah.
How did I do it convincing
I honestly don't know.
I would say if I was strong on the under, I'm a little weak weaker on it. I still favor. I
made a little dent. I made a little dent. Now, let me be perfectly clear. I'm not betting any of these. I don't like betting the season-long props. I've only bet one so far, and it's Trevor Lawrence's interceptions under. But I feel like Brown's the one name that popped to me on this list today.
That's fair. Completely fair. I think where we differ kind of ties into one of my first plays is you think Marquise Brown is going to be an option through those first 6 weeks. I actually think it's going to be Zach Ertz. And a season-long total I have is that I'm leaning over on is Zach Ertz over 60.5 receptions at -115. So the Hopkins 6-game suspension, in the 4 Hopkins missed last year, at the end of the season, Ertz averaged 10 targets and 7 receptions per game. He was the number 1 target. He finishes the season as a Cardinal with 56 receptions in only 11 games. Now, this line at 60.5, he's hitting 6 of 9 seasons for his career. I happen to think in the first 6 games when Hopkins gone, I think it's going to be Ertz. It's going to be that number 1 target. That's just my assumption here. But 60.5 seemed a little bit low for me, especially considering how strong he finished the season.
He had a great year.
Yeah, I can actually see that. I can actually see that happening. But another one you talked about too is Cam Akers. I know that you liked his under in rushing yards. You also like his under in rush receiving yards. We're just fading Cam Akers this season in terms of season-long player props.
I feel so guilty as a Rams fan fading him, especially with his jersey on my wall behind me.
It's okay. No. You're good.
But I'm trying to buy some credibility with the Pickswise followers here that I'm going against my own team.
Yes.
The season. So yeah, I feel like I'm buying yards when I'm adding the rushing and receiving piece. So the notion that the Rams are going to be using a leading back completely dissolved once Jared Goff left. A lot of people like to reference the Todd Gurley stint in LA as a benchmark. They need to realize his workload was really more indicative of propping up Jared Goff and selling the play action.
Mhm.
McVay wants a running back by committee. So the Kyron Williams piece, I think, is actually pretty telling that they use such high draft capital on this guy in the fourth. If he didn't run a 4.65 40, he probably would have been a second or third round pick. So I think Akers will be on the backfield, first, second down, but I think he's going to get spelled quite often by Darrell Henderson and Kyron Williams. And if you look at McVay's statements over the offseason, he's been pretty clear. He said, I have two starting running backs. They can both supplement one another. So I lean under on Cam Akers. I think they want to save him more for the end of the season, so we don't see any games where he's getting 25, 30 carries.
Yeah, I actually totally agree with you on this one. It's going to be interesting to see how they use their offense. But on the other side, the defense, I actually have a prop for this. Aaron Donald. I don't know if this is too soon after the whole incident that happened yesterday during practice, but since, again, it was practice and he used his helmet, it is up to the team to decide if he's suspended or if he's fined, not the league. So I don't know if this is too soon. I already had this prop on my list before the Aaron Donald drama happened yesterday. I like his over sacks, over 11 and a quarter sacks. And I got that on DraftKings at minus 130. Last year, he had 12 and a half, 2020, 13 and a half, 2019, 12 and a half, and 2018, 21 and a half sacks. Aaron Donald is the best pass rusher in the NFL at any position. Don't at me for that one. Time and time again, he leads the league in total pressures as an interior lineman. Last season, he had 86 total pressures, the second best pass rating grade in the league, and a top 5 pass rush win rate. And he had more double teams than most pass rushers in the NFL in general, too. And then you look at a guy like Leonard Floyd, who had 58 pressures last season, but just a 72.4 pass rushing grade. So I feel like he's going to have an elite year. I could see him double his teammates' productivity, and I could see him, getting even close to like 14, 15 sacks on the season. Who knows? Like even in 2020, when it was a shortened-ish season, he still had 13 and a half sacks. And last year, 12 and a half, 11 and a quarter just seems low. And I'm only laying 30 cents for it. So why not? I don't know if it's too soon with all the drama yesterday, Bobby. I don't know your thoughts on all of that yesterday, but I personally don't think he's going to be suspended. I think the team's probably going to fine him because they don't want to miss one of their best defensive players on the year. So your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I don't see the Rams shooting themselves in the foot on that. I'm sure he will receive a very hefty fine and a stern talking to, but he should play or should be able to start the season with no games taken away from him. No, the number's
just
low.
Like me, yeah, it's low. I said just like me, a hefty fine and a little slap on the wrist, like me with my Saturday detentions back in high school when I just scraped gum off the bottom of the desks. I got quite a few of those.
Were you like bad in high school? Like, were you like the troublemaker? Like, what's going on?
No, here's the thing. I went to a Catholic high school. We wore uniforms and we got a detention when our shirt was untucked or like when we chewed gum. And honestly, I was probably the person chewing gum and putting it under the desk. And then I was probably scraping off my own gum on these Saturday detentions. So you know what? You reap what you sow sometimes, Jared. You reap what you sow. But yeah, Bobby, I know that you have another sack prop too on your list heading into the season.
It seems to be a trend with some of these books to bring very favorable lines on sacks. I'm not sure exactly why, but I'm on Nick Bosa over 11 and a half sacks at minus 112. The guy had 15 and a half sacks last year in 2021. He had 9 sacks as a rookie and won Defensive Rookie of the Year. He missed year 2 with an ACL injury. This is his first fully healthy offseason of his career. No rehab, just football, which I think it bodes very, very well for this season. He's entering that fourth year of his rookie contract. This is where extensions come into play. And I know we're talking about bets. I start thinking money to me matters. When these guys are in contract years, they really start to show up. So if I look at Nick Bosa last season, 5th in total QB pressures with 53. His rookie season, 2nd in the league in QB pressures with 60. Now, and you mentioned this before, only Aaron Donald has more QB pressures per game than Nick Bosa. Bosa's at 3.3.
Oh,
So
wow.
I think this number is insulting at 11.5. He's a dark horse for me, a defensive player of the year if you like the awards route. But give me 11.5 sacks. I'm putting 2 units on this.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he can get that 10 weeks into the season. I feel like both of them could get this 10 weeks into the season, to be honest with you. Jared, I don't know your thoughts on it and sack props in general.
Sacks are tough. I bet a lot of individual game sacks this year. Or last season. That was an interesting prop. Again, I think my strategy with season-long futures in the NFL, it's really, really tough. It's just most of them stay under. So you have to be really, 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 really sure about something to bet the over on it. So the ones I only have one season long prop in my portfolio right now, and it's Trevor Lawrence under 14.5 picks. That's the only one that I bet pre-flop, just because I feel like I want to see some week 1 stuff happen first, and maybe week 2. And then maybe dive in, because they do offer these markets live. They offer win totals midseason. They offer props midseason. So that's kind of my vibe on them. But yeah, I mean, Bosa's fantastic. He should get 1 million sacks this year. Sure, why not?
Both of them are fantastic. Both of them
fantastic. The best players in the league, maybe.
Yeah, literally, honestly. Bobby, before we let you go, one more question for you from the chat about fading DK Metcalf and Lockett props. Lockett receiving yards right now is set at 850 and a hook. Metcalf is 900 and a hook. Would you go over or under for those? And why would you either friend them or fade them in that position?
It's so tough without even knowing who the starting quarterback is. I mean, my options are very limited as it is. It's Drew Lock and Geno Smith. If it is going to be Drew, I don't. Again, when you feel uncertain, if you feel uncertain, lean under. I would say this: if Drew Lock is your starting quarterback, which I have a feeling he may be, I would favor more DK Metcalf. I think he had a better rapport with Cortland Sutton, that bigger-bodied wide receiver, than he did with a Jerry Jeudy, who kind of reminds me of Tyler Lockett. So if it's Drew Lock week 1, I would lean DK Metcalf having the bigger season. Whether that hits the number, I don't know. But I'm staying away from Seattle offensively. I'm really in a wait and see with them. I hear their rookie offensive linemen are playing exceptionally well, but I want no part of that from a betting standpoint.
The only thing I'm betting with them with Seattle is the only thing I'm betting with Seattle, Jared, is the under on their win total, under 5.5. There's no way that team gets to 6 wins this season. No freaking way.
It was 6.5, then it was 6, and now it's 5.5. You might be able to find a rogue 6 out there. Yeah, and if you can find a 6 out there, that means they need to go 7 and 10 for you to lose that bet. I don't see that happening. So I think Seattle under 6 wins, if you can find a reasonably priced 6 out there, is absolutely a bet I would consider making.
The only wins that they're going to have this season are maybe the Lions, because I'm obviously going to be rooting for my team. But realistically, the Lions, the Giants, the Falcons, the Jets, the Panthers. There's no other game on their schedule that I'm like, they're going to go over the edge of.
And they're going to be underdogs in most of their games this year.
Yeah.
They will be underdogs in most games this year.
Bobby, we so appreciate you. We so appreciate your time. We so appreciate your fandom. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And we'll be talking to you throughout the season.
Job,
NFC
Bobby.
West, baby. Go Rams. Rooting for them.
Thank you guys so much. Enjoy your Friday. Take care, everyone.
Thank you. You too. All right, Jared. I know before we get into our Pickswise.com 3-star play of the days, you're super excited to have a week 1 bet on your card, so please lay it on us. Tell us what you're doing, because you put 1.5 units on this bad boy.
Yeah, so I think to start out the NFL season, I am going to be risking 1.5 units. That will be my flat bet. So again, 1.5 units on a minus 110 will net you about 1.35 ish. So not a huge. Yeah, a lot of math there. But again, I was going, and about in, early to mid-August, every year I kind of reassess my bankroll and I say how I want to approach NFL and college football season from a risk management standpoint. Every single gambler out there that bets every day and most people who watch this show at least think about betting every day, you should
Mm-hmm.
have a plan for what you want to risk on every bet this season. And I recommend, unless you have some fancy algorithm that tells you exactly how much edge you have on each bet, I would recommend a flat whatever unit system. For me in NFL this year,
Yeah.
my baseline bet will be 1.5 units risk. So if it's a minus 120, it'll be 1.5 to win whatever, 1.1, 1.2, you do the math. That being said, so this isn't like a elevated bet, relatively speaking, to how the rest of my NFL bets are going to be this year. 1.5 unit risk is going to be kind of my flat. That being said, I did bet the under in the Bucks-Cowboys game. I got 51 at Caesars 2 days ago. Remember, we talked about this the other day. I said I made a bet. I'm not giving it out yet because we weren't even talking about NFL week 1 yet. But the Terrence Smith injury yesterday forced my hand in getting this out to the public because I think this total is going to continue to drop. If you can find, I doubt you're going to find a 51 anymore. If you can find a 50.5, I think it is still worth a play, because the only difference there is a loss and a win. If it lands on 51, I'll push. You will lose. Sorry. But I think 50.5 is still playable. I think this total closes at 49, maybe even lower, but definitely will close south of 50. So if you can get in at 50 or 50.5, really would be the best get-in price now. I think you're going to get some pretty decent CLV once the market does close. 2 Sunday nights from now. So that's my first bet. And again, the handicap is all narrative based. Tom Brady's missed a lot of training camp. I think the Bucs offense is going to start a little bit slow. The Cowboys offense is without one of their best weapons, Amari Cooper. He's gone. And of course, the offensive line now just lost maybe the best left tackle in the league. Or the best right tackle in the league, excuse me. So I think that is important. And that is going to make this game trend a little bit more on the slower pace side, as both of these offenses kind of get acclimated to a new season. So under 51, again, that's one of the most landed on totals in the NFL over the last few years. It's going to go lower than that. I think it's going to probably close 49-ish. So I think 50.5 is fantastic. And I would play under for 1.5 units.
I like it. Tom Brady will get a little bit of action before week 1 because he's going to be starting the Bucs preseason finale. So I know he hasn't had that much time on the field. Again, he is a superstar. He is a GOAT. But he needs to get a little bit of time on the field before the season starts with his offense that's kind of the same but also kind of different at the same time. So it's going to be interesting to see how he does heading into week 1 in that Cowboys-Bucs game. I can't even wait for it. All right, before our best bets of the day, Jared, Pickswise.com, 3-star play of the day. Who do we got?
We have college football on the site for tomorrow, and a hearty congratulations to
music to my ears.
Hearty congratulations to our colleague Mark Zinno, the new lead college football betting analyst here at Pickswise. Going to be a tremendous. I mean, it's not like that's new. He's been betting college football with us since last season, and of course, you've seen him on Let's Bet It very frequently. But it was official yesterday. He is the new big boy with the college football boy, with boys to men. He's the men amongst the boys in the college football betting space for us this season. And he has his first pick for this year on the site. It's a total in the Wyoming, Illinois game. Check it out. Also, Chris Ukasian, who does a great job for several other outlets, is also a new college football writer for us. He's got a play on North Texas UTEP. We also have EPL on the site. 2 matches this weekend. Aston Villa, West Ham, Wolves, Newcastle. Check it out. Lots of action on Pickswise.com. It's our second to last weekend without NFL, but our first weekend with college football. Exciting stuff.
Yep. We got a lot coming at you over these next couple of weeks, and then throughout the entire football season, both boys and men. So we cannot wait to break it all down for you. Let's get into our best bets of the day. I'll start out with mine because it's a little juicy, and we need to warm up the palate before your Yerfy/Nerfy. I'm not going to give away what it is. But I am laying 60 cents for this bad boy. And I know it's a little risky, but I am risking it for the biscuit. Mitch White over 4.5 strikeouts. I know he's only struck out 5 or more in only 3 starts this season. But guess what this is? A fade of the Angels. Because you know how much I love fading the Angels this season. And it works out for me almost every single time. Drew Rasmussen struck them out 9 times yesterday. 9. The Angels have a 27.5% strikeout rate against righties over the last 2 weeks, which is the second worst rank in baseball. And they also only have a 5.3% walk rate and a putrid, smelling bad, 68 WRC plus. And you look at a guy like Mitch White, he's coming off of one of his 3-5 strikeout performances against, guess who? The Yankees, who are a way better team in terms of hitting the ball than the Angels are. So Mitch White over 4.5. I know it's a little bit juicy. 60 cents, laying it, risking it for the biscuit. Angels, they are smelly when it comes to striking out. So I'm fading the Angels. Now let's go to your Nerfy, because you're also hoping a lot of guys whiff and no runs are scored in the first inning.
Yeah, so this has been a very popular bet for me when Spencer Strider is on the mound. This doesn't exist, but if it did exist, Spencer Strider would be my vote. The Nerfy pitcher of the year. He might win Rookie of the Year in the National League. I think Michael Harris has an inside track to that, though. And I think this start tonight will go a long way in determining who wins National League Rookie of the Year. But I think Spencer Strider, to me, is the best Nerfy pitcher in the league. And it's because of just how he approaches his first innings, which is all gas, no break. And also because no one's really seen it.
Strata.
Seriously. Oh, yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Spencer Strider is 14-1 of the Nerfy this year. He's got a 48% K rate in the opening inning. His FIP is under 1. Now, Jose Quintana's having a good season to the Nerfy as well. In fact, these two guys combined 34-6 to the Nerfy this season. Obviously, the concern for me here is Strider against this Cardinals lineup. Paul Goldschmidt can absolutely wreck this because the Cardinals lineup jumps from a 28% scoring rate on the road to 42% at home. That's one of the best in baseball. So I'm kind of walking the tightrope here with Spencer Strider on the road against this very good Cardinals lineup. But he does have good numbers. He faced the Cardinals at home very recently. He does have good numbers against the Cardinals overall, including just 1 for 3 against Goldschmidt, 0 for 2 against Arenado, 0 for 1 against Nootbaar, 0 for 3 against Donovan. So that's the top of the Cardinals lineup. So while St. Louis's lineup is very potent at home in the first inning, I think Strider might be the great equalizer here. And again, I feel confident against the Braves going against Quintana. Atlanta's been a below average team in the first inning this year. They've scored just once in their last 11 games overall, and their road scoring rate is 26%. So while I'm a little bit concerned and I'll be walking that tightrope in the bottom of the first inning, I still feel like this is a fair price based on what the numbers are telling me. Minus 125 at circa for the Braves Cardinals Nerfy tonight in St. Louis. It's really my only official bet of this game of this day because the other Nerfy, I'm just tailing our pal Mark Lammy, and then the walks parlay kind of gets into its own separate entity there. So this is really the best bet of the day for me. Atlanta, St. Louis, Nerfy.
I like it. The Strata throwing his slata, and hopefully a Nerfy hits as we slide on out of here, Jared. That's it for us today. Find us on the Pickswise YouTube channel. Go to Pickswise.com. Follow us on Twitter. I know, the master of alliterations. Why not? Jared Smith, Lauren Jabbar. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Don't miss us too much. Have a great rest of your Friday. Let's get it. Let's bet it.